Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you've been following in my recent content since I got my freeze dryer, you've probably seen me try some pretty weird experiments. And let's face it, when somebody buys something like a freeze dryer, the first thing they want to do is start freeze drying everything they can get their hands on. And sometimes to those that are watching, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You can really throw a lot of money into buying perfectly good food only to put it in the freeze dryer and hope for the best. But I'm here to tell you that there is another option for ways to do freeze drying that makes good sense financially and can be a whole lot lighter on your wallet. Yesterday I went to my local Kroger and I got inspired. In fact, I kind of went a little nuts. My wife was looking at me funny when I brought these bags home. But what I found was that my grocery store, like every other grocery store, at some point puts things on clearance. Now, I've done videos about clearance items before. What I'm talking about is clearance on pre-prepared meals. Things like Home Chef and stuff like that, where the food is fully prepared, ready to go, and all you got to do is take it home and put it in the oven or put it in the microwave and dinner's ready. The problem with those meals is they can be quite expensive. I've seen single serve meals go for $8 or $9. And when you compare that to a lot of fast food places these days, that's not a bad price, but why would I pay $8 or $9 for a perfectly good meal only to take it home and put it in the freeze dryer? So what I found was, as I was walking around my Kroger store yesterday, I found a bunch of those meals on clearance, usually for less than half the price. And it dawned on me that a lot of these items are getting ready to expire. They're still perfectly good the day I buy them, but they're getting ready to expire. Usually your option with stuff like that is to take it home and put it in the freezer. Sometimes these things don't do well in the freezer. They're not really designed for that. So what I did was I picked up a bunch of items. I'm going to show them to you. We're going to throw them in the freeze dryer, and then we're going to see what we end up with. So let me show you my haul. There it is. Look at my bag of food right there. This is just one. I've done this kind of thing before where I've gone and bought a bunch of stuff that was on sale, but usually it just goes in the freezer or we eat it that day or what have you. This is gonna be a special purpose haul right here. First thing I picked up was this tub of Home Chef black bean soup. You see I got this for $2.25, but let's look at the original price. That's a pretty good deal right there. This is not something you want to just put in the fridge and keep around for a little while because eventually it's going to go bad. So we're going to freeze dry that, make that into a camp meal. Next up is something I got really excited about when I saw these. Once again, these are Home Chef items, and I found this beef and pork meatloaf. This also comes with mashed potatoes and gravy, and I only paid $4.82 for it. This is going to become a shelf-stable meal. I don't have to worry about it going bad sitting in the back of the refrigerator because I forgot about it. I don't have to worry about putting it in the freezer and it end up freezer burning, because when you package things like this, all that extra air in there is capturing moisture. That just becomes freezer burn. We're gonna save this from freezer burn. Next up, I got one that I'm really curious about how this is gonna turn out. This is the Sunday braised beef. I got this one for $4.82. This one comes with beef in a gravy as well as mashed potatoes with herbs and carrots. And I have a feeling all of that is gonna do really well in the freeze dryer. Next up was one that I grabbed two of these because I wanted one for my family and one to do this project with. Not to mention, it'll give me a scope of reference for how it's supposed to taste. I picked up Kevin's Chicken Fajitas Skillet Meal. This has got all of the peppers and onions and meat and sauce and everything in it. I paid $5.42 for it. This sells every other day for $10.99. I got two of these for less than the cost of one by getting them with that little yellow sticker on them. I got one that I stuck in the freezer because I figured this one would freeze okay, and we're probably gonna eat that next week, but this one is going in the freeze dryer. Then last but not least, I picked up a real experiment. I got a Home Chef chicken burrito bowl kit. This is a family meal. It comes with rice and chicken and salsa and this bean and corn salsa stuff here. I'm really curious as to how this one's gonna do in the freeze dryer. This was another one that I bought two of. We're probably gonna have this for dinner tomorrow night. So once again, it's gonna give me a scope of reference for how that freeze-dried version turns out. So that's everything that I got for this batch. We're gonna get this laid out onto the freeze dryer trays, get them in the freezer so they can be pre-freezing, and then tomorrow morning, we're gonna get them in the freeze dryer so that we can start the process. So come along with me as we get these set up for the freeze dryer. First off, we're gonna start with this Kevin's Chicken Fajitas Skillet Meal Kit. get my silicone liner down here on my freeze dryer tray. That way nothing sticks to the tray. I kind of don't know what to expect when I open this. I hope this idea is going to work out. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Look at that. All right, so we have a packet of chicken, we have our packet of vegetables, and we have a packet of sauce. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it all out on the tray together, and we'll just freeze dry it intact. All of this is fully cooked, so there's nothing left to do other than just get it prepared in the freeze dryer. Then when we get ready to reconstitute it, we just add hot water and bring it back to life. Let's get our chicken out here. This is sous vide cooked to perfection. I'm gonna break this up. It's okay, I've already washed my hands. Don't start yelling at me. Now, when we're doing something like this, we want to try to get it broken into little pieces because it'll freeze dry easier. But more importantly, it will reconstitute easier if we don't have big chunks. I'm going to mix these together. And now let's get our sauce in there. Let me even this out so nothing's sticking up over the lip of the tray. Make sure all the ingredients are getting to know each other. All right, I'm going to cover this, take this one into the freezer, and wash my hands. I'll be right back. Let's set out our next pan, get our silicone liner. Let's get our Sunday braised beef set out. So let's get this out onto this tray here. Get all my carrots and my beef. My potatoes. Spread those thin. I'm going to try to keep them on half the tray because I want to try to do 2 items on this tray. On the other half, I want to do our beef and pork meatloaf with mashed potatoes. Let's get our meatloaf out. I like the way this is kind of portioned out to be easily handled. Now this has bacon and cheese in it, and I have not freeze dried either of those ingredients. And I know bacon is problematic, so we're going to see what happens here. Let's get out our mashed potatoes. Let's press those down, put a lid on that, and we will go get it in the freezer next to the fajitas. Next up, I want to do this soup. We're going to do this a little differently. I'm still going to use my pan and my silicone liner just in case we have any spills. I'm going to use these little portion trays just because it'll probably be easier to freeze dry it if we do it in something like this than to just pour it all out onto the big tray. Serve this out like this. Ooh, that soup smells really good. Smooth it down. All right, let's get a lid on this, put it in the freezer with the rest. All right, now this is going to be the real experiment of the entire lot. This chicken burrito bowl kit. This one, I admit, this is a crazy idea, but I like crazy ideas. Let's start out with our rice. Oh, let's put down our silicone sheet. Whew, glad I thought of that before I started dumping. This rice is fully cooked and ready to go. And we're going to do something very different from the way this is intended to be done. Because of the way we're going to have to package this, we're going to go ahead and make our entire bowl up. So our chicken burrito bowl is going to be ready to go. Let's get this pressed down so it's not sticking above the lip. We have our black beans and corn, all this. We are going to go all in with this stuff. Now check this out. We've also got some salsa. I'm putting the salsa in. Yell at me if you want. I'm just going to have it in there and ready to go. And this is a Baja style cream sauce. What do y'all think? I'll tell you what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to open it, but I'm going to freeze it in this package. I'm going to put it on the tray with the soup that we just did. And I'm going to let that freeze as it is. I'm going to package it separately. Just because I want to see what happens with this. Well, let's get all this mashed down. All right, so now I'm going to take the rest of this in, get it in the freezer. Tomorrow morning, we're going to crank up that freeze dryer and get this process rolling. This may be the biggest and weirdest waste of time ever, but we got to try it. And I think you guys are going to love what happens, whether it works out or not. We'll see you tomorrow morning. All right, everything is done. Let's get in here and see exactly what we ended up with this load of freeze-dried goodies. All right, so this tray has our 3 cubes of soup as well as the cream sauce for our burrito bowls. This one has our chicken fajitas. Everything is extremely light and airy and just really, I mean, it's completely dried, no moisture left at all. If you've never been around freeze-dried food, it's a strange feeling. I mean, it is like little pieces of styrofoam almost. This tray has our meatloaf and potatoes as well as our Sunday roast beef and potatoes with carrots. Look how the potatoes just kind of fall apart. These carrots are super light. And then finally, our last tray has our chicken burrito bowl. This is going to be broken up into 2 portions because this is a lot of food right here. All right, first things first, let's package up this soup and get it ready. All right, so I know I said the soup was first, but the first thing I'm going to do is get this cream sauce packaged up. And I'm going to do it separate from everything else. So I've just got one of these little small packages. I'm going to open that up as far as it'll open. Got a gusseted pouch here, so give us lots of room. Just mash it down in there, and that's ready to go. For the soup, I'm going to put it in one of these style bowls here, just because this one actually works more like a bowl, and this being soup and all, just figured that'd be the best fit. And as long as it'll fit, I'm going to put all of it into one package. The way I figure it, when we're using this, we're probably going to be looking for a substantial bit of food. Let's crunch that up really good so it'll all fit. Set that aside. All right, for these, we're going to use the taller packages. So we're going to do meatloaf and potatoes. Let's drop our potatoes down on the bottom. And then our meatloaf on top. That's ready. Roast beef and potatoes. Man, the potatoes are just falling apart in my hand. Let's just do the rest of this way. Next up is our chicken fajitas. Forgot what year it was. I think this one's going to be easier overall just to do it this way. And then last but not least, we're going to need 2 bags for our chicken burrito bowl. Rice really feels funny. It is super, super lightweight, very fragile. And for this one, I decided to get the food scoop just because there's so much in here and I don't want to risk making a big mess. So we're going to get about half of it and get it into the bag. And then we'll get the rest of it out the old-fashioned way by making a giant mess. All right, next up, I just got to get these into the vacuum sealer so that we can get them securely sealed up and then set them aside until we need them. And that'll be the next phase when we get to taste some goodies. Come back around for that part. It's coming up soon. All right, we're back. Everything is freeze-dried, everything's packaged, and now it's time to do the fun stuff. Now we get to taste it and see how it turned out. So for my dinner tonight, I'm gonna prepare 2 of these options because I'm gonna have a special guest on here in just a little bit to help me out with this. But for tonight, I'm going to make the meatloaf and potatoes and the roast beef and potatoes. So let's get these opened up and I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna fix these. Now keep in mind that if you're making these as a camp food, all you really need to do is pour your boiling water into this bag, seal it up, and let it sit for a little while. But for presentation purposes, and because I don't really want to just mix everything together in one package, I'm going to show y'all how I would prepare these if I had the right container with me. So first off, let's open these packages up and see what awaits us. I mean, it looks just like it did going in. We got 1 slab of meatloaf and some potatoes in there. Let's see how our roast beef fared. Ooh, that smells good. Looks just like it did going in. Everything seems to be holding up just fine. All right, now let's get this prepared. I got a couple of these dual section containers. These allow you to food prep items where you can put two things on separate sides so that they don't mix together. And we're going to use that to get this ready. But first off, let's get some water boiling. Now that our water's hot, let's move that out of the way and let's get these out. First off, we're going to do the meatloaf. Just reach in here and there's our meatloaf. Bacon chunks and cheese and everything just stuck to the top. And we're just going to pour our potatoes in here. The roast beef is going to be a little harder to do because we got to separate the meat from everything else, but a lot of it's right in the front there. I'll put the meat and as much of the carrots as I can on this side. Then we're going to get our potatoes out over on that side. We'll leave some of the carrots over here with the potatoes, see how they do. And then get all of our roast beef set out on that side. And we'll start with a little bit of hot water on our meatloaf. And on our roast beef. Now I'm going to put some in with the potatoes and carrots. These should pop back pretty quick. I mean, they're basically instant mashed potatoes. But I do want a little extra water for those carrots to reconstitute. Make sure everything is in contact with the water here. I'm really curious to see how the bacon and cheese do. I get a lot of questions asking about freeze drying bacon. And it's one of those things that, as a rule, people don't do it. For starters, it's very high in fat. It doesn't have a long shelf life, but also it doesn't just freeze dry very well. Let's close this one up. All right, so let's get a timer set. I'm going to set it for 15 minutes so that we give them plenty of time to reconstitute and warm up. We'll be back in 15 minutes to see how it turns out. All right, it's been 15 minutes and look what I found while it was cooking. Everybody welcome DL.
Hi.
So now we're going to try these things and see how they turned out. So what I did was I reconstituted the freeze-dried meals that I got at Kroger the other day.
Okay.
We have the Sunday roast beef that has mashed potatoes and carrots. And we have meatloaf that has mashed potatoes. It also has a sprinkling of cheese and bacon. So I'm really curious as to how those are going to turn out.
Okay.
So we're going to give them both a try, see what your thoughts are and what my thoughts are, and if this was a worthy effort to make these meals. All right, so we're going to start off with the Sunday roast beef. The roast beef side is a little watery. I'm not too worried about that because it kind of made a little gravy. The mashed potatoes and carrots seem to have done well. So we're going to start with the potatoes and carrots.
Is it ever a good thing when it makes its own gravy? Sorry.
They used to market things like that. So, you know, I guess it's a good thing. So we're going to give it a try. We're going to start with the mashed potatoes and see.
It smells good.
It really does smell good.
Yeah.
The roast beef smells fantastic. So, all right, let's try the potatoes.
Okay. Taters.
Cheers.
Cheers. Don't no. Okay.
Potatoes are good.
I don't think you can mess up potatoes.
No, I mean, they don't taste any different than, like, you know, instant mashed potatoes or something like that. But
actually, they don't really taste that instant to me. They have more of a not instant flavor.
No, I mean, I totally get that. So maybe I spoke wrong by saying it tastes like instant. It doesn't taste any worse than any instant mashed potatoes because that's essentially what we made here. This actually has a better flavor. So now let's try the carrots and see how they turned out.
I like carrots.
A little chewy.
I'm getting chewy too.
Still got a good flavor, but there's a lot of chew in the middle of it. So I want to try one of the carrots off the side with the roast beef because the potatoes tend to really absorb liquid really fast and take all of it. Maybe the carrots on the roast beef side will have fared a little better.
They look juicier. They're moist. Because I know how much everybody loves that word.
To use that word.
Yeah.
All right, let's give it a try.
Better. Still a little bit on the chewy side, but I think that the flavor from the roast beef is much better.
Yeah, I think the carrots actually started to absorb some of that gravy that the roast beef was making.
I'm going for a second.
But they don't taste rubbery. They just taste like they are still a little undercooked and have some bite to them like they're supposed to.
Second one was good.
Let's get a piece of roast beef and give that a try. I'm really curious as to how this came back.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Here we go. That's not bad.
That's not bad at all. There's a texture that goes with chunks of beef that have been reconstituted. It's always going to be there, but it's not an unpleasant texture to the point where you wouldn't eat this. In fact, sitting around a campfire or after a day of hiking, this is going to be fantastic.
What?
Of course, the bigger the chunk of beef, the longer it's going to take to reconstitute. So you need to make sure that all of your little morsels of beef are roughly the same size. Sometimes it's going to require a little bit of extra processing while you're getting your meals ready to go in the freeze dryer, but it'll absolutely be worth it in the long run. Are you enjoying this?
I took lunch today, and this is really good.
All right,
Woo!
this one has me curious. The meatloaf, potatoes, the bacon and cheese. Let's see what we ended up with. There it is. I can smell the barbecue sauce and everything that's on the meatloaf. It doesn't smell bad at all. Let's try the mashed potatoes. Remember, these have cheese and there's little bits of bacon that got in there.
Okay.
So let's try that.
Yummy.
It's a very different flavor with the potatoes. The smokiness of the bacon really got into the potatoes. And I don't know if that was done during the cooking process or if it just happened because that bacon got mixed in with the potatoes. But there is a really strong smoky flavor in those potatoes that I like a lot.
I preferred the other potatoes. And don't get me wrong, I like bacon, but as you know, I don't consume as much meat.
Yeah.
The bacon was a little overwhelming for me.
Yeah, she's never been a big fan of smoky flavor in foods.
No.
Even if you're dealing with smoked meats, she's not a huge fan of that. So that's understandable. All right, let's get a bite of this meatloaf. I can already tell this is not going to have come back right. It's fighting me a little bit, and that should not be happening. Yeah, I don't have any confidence in this. Not sure where the problem is, but I can already, this is kind of like the sausage links from breakfast. I can feel there, I mean, it's stiff. I'm going to take a bite, but I can tell you already, this didn't work out. So the outside is fine. The center is crunchy. It did not absorb the water the way I'd hoped to. I added plenty of water to it, so it's not a matter of there wasn't enough water in it or whatever. Once again, this would probably be perfect had I done a little bit of extra processing and cut this up into cubes before freeze drying it. That way it would have more sides to absorb the water from, and it would come back a little bit better.
I'm a little scared.
The taste overall is good. It really didn't come back well. This one was not a win, but I'm not counting it out. I think had I chopped it up and put it in there, it would have been fine. But like this, it just doesn't work.
To me, I think the meatloaf actually tastes a bit more like school food.
I mean, it's not great. I'm not saying that this is a great flavor. Go out and get this particular one.
Yes.
Because it's not great. That being said, we also only paid a few dollars for this. It's not horrible. If it reconstituted right, it would be enjoyable for most people. DL has a little more sophisticated palate. There are certain things that she likes and doesn't like. So something like this is not going to be her favorite. I am the guy that if we go to Cracker Barrel to get dinner, I'm ordering the meatloaf. DL is over there ordering something that's all salmon and vegetables and all that. So,
Yeah.
But you know what was good? Get a couple more bites of this.
Hang on, move out of the way.
She wants the potatoes.
The potatoes are delicious. What?
There we go.
Cheers.
All right, so that's it for these two. Next time around, we're going to try one of those other meals that I freeze dried. See how that turned out. Say bye, DL.
Bye, DL. I get more potatoes. What? Bye, DL.
All right, so for lunch today, I managed to break away from work for a little while and for a little bit of a change of atmosphere. We're out in the great outdoors. I'm at a picnic site at my local county park. Going to try the black bean and corn soup and see how that turned out. Boiled up some water, got it added into the soup, and have been letting it sit for a little while to prepare. Now, I think it's finally reconstituted enough. Let's give it a try and see how this soup works as a reconstituted freeze-dried meal. We've got our soup, and I love these Mylar bowl bags because this right here makes it so much easier to eat things like soup without having to dip a long spoon down in one of those big bags. Ooh, that smells really good. And it looks like it's come back very nicely. So I got my vintage Boy Scout chow kit. You get out my little baby spoon and let's give this soup a try. Let's get a bite with a little bit of everything in there. That looks like it's done very well. In fact, it's a little on the hot side. All right, bon appetit. Yeah, I'm glad we did that. That's good stuff. Everything seems to be coming back just like you'd want it to. You always want to be sure to give this stuff plenty of time to reconstitute. Don't get in a hurry. This is not one of those meals you want to make if you're in a hurry to eat. But the soup, because everything's diced up kind of small, it comes back a little quicker than some of the other stuff will. So this one was a rousing success. In the future, however, what I would do is I would split this into 2 meals. Then I would add about a 1/4 cup of instant rice to go with each one to give it just a little bit more body. But I think that would come back to be something really good. Not that this isn't, but I think we can make it better. All right, that's enough about this one. Let's see what happens next. All right, it's dinner time. Tonight's dinner is chicken fajitas. I'm kind of excited about this one because it smells really, really good, and I'm curious as to how it's going to work out. Now, I've had this soaking in some warm water for a little while now because I just wanted it to kind of come back. We could eat it like this and it would probably be fine, but I'm going to go an extra mile because chicken fajitas are meant to be served a certain way, and that's how we're going to do it. So let's jump in here and see if we can get this made. That's right, tonight we're going back to the mess kit and the Coughlin stove. Let's get it fired up. Now, one of the things that I love about this audience is you guys are always suggesting things that I should try in order to make things like this more efficient. When I used this setup last week, a viewer sent me a recommendation to try one of these. And not only did they make the recommendation, they gave me the specific item to look for. This is a diffuser. Instead of having this setup where the stove is focused so much on a single point with the heat, I can put this on it and it'll disperse that heat. So we'll get more even cooking using this mess kit. Much like last week's video, for this meal I threw in another little pouch that has some vegetable oil in it because I figured that's what this meal is going to need. Spread this around, let it warm up, kind of season the mess kit and get ready for cooking. All right, let's get our fajitas out and start cooking. These don't require any actual cooking, they just need to be warmed up, but I want to get a little bit of a sear on them because fajitas have to have that. That doesn't look half bad right there. All right, I think we're pretty much there. It's looking good and it smells amazing. I cannot wait to dig into this. And to make this meal everything I think it should be, I packed a little something extra. A while back I ordered some of the packaged items for genuine military MREs. Ordered a couple different packs of desserts and some breads and some tortillas. So we're gonna have these chipotle tortillas chipotle to go with our fajitas. I think that's going to be perfect. Some of the content of this channel may seem that I take issue with military MREs. I really don't. Things like this are absolutely brilliant, and there's nobody else out there that makes tortillas that are packaged in small varieties that are designed to be shelf stable for very long. This is about the only source where you're going to get those. So let's open up these tortillas and let's get started because my stomach is growling. Look, they're orange. All right, so let's prep one of our tortillas. All we got to do is fill this sucker up. There you go. So there we have it, our freeze-dried and reconstituted and then mess kit cooked chicken fajita, complete with chipotle tortillas. Let's get a bite of that. Let's get another bite of that. That right there, that's the genuine article. I would do this again 7 days a week. What a fantastic flavor. Everything reconstituted so perfectly, I could not tell you that this was anything but fresh. That was absolutely fantastic, and I will for sure be checking Kroger every time I go in there to see if that is on sale again. Now I'm going to eat this other one before somebody comes along and tries to take it away from me. So I will see you guys for the last round tomorrow. I think the main reason why I started doing homemade MREs and things like this in the first place was the idea that I might get stuck at work and not get a chance to go to lunch. And I like the idea of having food that's available to me here that I will actually enjoy eating. I don't necessarily just want to keep a can of soup in my desk and hope that that's what I'm in the mood for the day this happens. Today is one of those days. I'm at work, I'm not having a chance to step away, but I do have a chance to eat my last of these freeze-dried clearance meals. Today we're doing the chicken burrito bowl. I've already opened up the package and you can see what it looks like inside there now that it's been sitting there for a couple of weeks. I added in some hot water, zipped it up, and gave it 20 minutes to reconstitute. And now, here we are. Time to have lunch. So let's see how this one turned out to see if this is going to be a viable option to make more of these in the future. It reconstituted quite well. It smells great. Looks quite delicious. Now, honestly, this one looks a lot like what you would get in a military ration meal, whether it's an MRE or a field ration or what have you. Things that mix chicken and rice and a lot of Southwestern flavors end up being in those meals. So this one's not going to be a far cry from what you would expect to get if you had just a regular military MRE. But let's get us a bite of this and see what we ended up with. Now remember, we mixed everything together. This is the chicken, this is the rice, it's the black bean and corn salsa, and I think there was some regular salsa that went in here too. So let's give this a try and see how well it came back. That turned out really good. It came back really well. It's got a really potent flavor to it and just a little bit of heat. I have no complaints about using this as a meal. And the fact that I've got another one of these things at home that's made the exact same way, I get to look forward to that somewhere down the line. It's really interesting that this came back with the texture that it did. There's nothing that tastes off about it. And having had one of these that did not get freeze-dried first, I don't really notice any difference in this. I'd totally do that again. And on top of it, this is a good, hearty portion of food. I would have no complaints about having just that and nothing else to go with it. And the thing about it is, I don't feel like I need to add anything to it. Would it be great with some cheese in it? Yeah, probably. Some sour cream. There are a lot of things that you could do to this to make it just a little bit better, but it doesn't really need anything. It's perfectly fine the way it is. Yep, this one's a winner. All right, so let's go back through what we did. First off, we had the Sunday roast beef, which was outstanding. The wife and I both enjoyed that. The potatoes were really good. The roast beef came back surprisingly well. Carrots were just a little bit on the chewy side, but not offensively so. The meatloaf did not work. The potatoes I liked, DL didn't, because the bacon added an extra smokiness, but that meatloaf just did not come back. And I'm really curious as to why, because I expected with it being ground meat that it was going to just bounce right back. But I would try that again by chopping up that meatloaf into smaller pieces and seeing how that turns out. Then we had the black bean and corn soup, which turned out outstanding. And once again, I would probably add rice or something like that to it the next time I try that, just to make it go a little bit further. Then we had those fajitas. Those fajitas were so good. I would do that again and again and again. In fact, I went to Kroger last night on the way home and I found myself over there looking at the fajitas and wishing I could find another one on clearance. And then we had the burrito chicken bowl, which turned out outstanding. Would definitely do this again. But when it comes to the idea of freeze drying perfectly good food, I think there has to be some parameters put on that. The idea of buying things that are full price and then just sticking them in the freeze dryer, especially if you don't know how they're going to turn out, may not be the best plan, unless you have an expectation for that. Like when I made the freeze-dried hamburger patties, I knew what I was doing with that. It was a product that's been tested before and is on the market. So I knew that it was going to work out. I just didn't know to what extent. But I don't like the idea of just going out and buying full-priced foods, sticking them in the freeze dryer and hoping for the best. I just don't think that fiscally that's the best plan in the world. Now recently I got something from my brother. He gave me one of those number 10 cans of tomatillos. There's no way in the world I am ever going to use that many tomatillos in a reasonable amount of time to open up a can and then just package up the leftovers and hope for the best. So what I did was I took those tomatillos and I put them in the freeze dryer. Once that process was done, I repackaged them as a powder, which I used in a video a while back. That to me is a great use of it because I know that that can that I paid nothing for is not going to go to waste. And some people wouldn't think twice about throwing away something they didn't pay for in the first place, but I don't like to do that. And the idea of taking that and being able to freeze dry it and turn it into something I can use for other recipes, I love that. I've got another can of that stuff at home, so I will probably be doing the same thing with that at some point in the future. But now I've got an extra little shelf-stable ingredient that I can use in other stuff. So for me, coming across something like that that I would normally not get because I know I'm not going to use it, now I have the ability to make it go further and last longer. So for those of you out there who think that it's strange and wasteful to freeze dry regular food, why can't you just do this? Why can't you just do that? Why don't you just leave it in the can? There's your reasons right there. Sometimes it's just not a viable option to do it that way. And when you're dealing with fresh made foods that are going to go bad if you don't use them or do something else with them, this just gives you another option of a way to use those items and to keep them from going to waste. So for those of you out there who have freeze dryers, or if you've been thinking about a freeze dryer but you just can't find the justification because you don't see the need in it, this is just another idea of how to make it work better for you. That's going to be a wrap for this one. And until the next one, prepare for the world that you live in, not the one you wish existed. See you around.